dangerous people, and that's an animal of another color, another type of thing. What to do?
Yeah.
One of the things that I found while I've been here in Spain is I think Jane Major thinks more about solutions and how do we solve the problem rather than how to escalate the problem. And I've taught parent education for years and years and years. The parents come with, whether it be from the Department of Children and Family Service or from family law, any number of different kinds of issues like that. And these are people that are taught what to do, how to be in a family, what is a healthy family. And many people have no clue what a healthy family is, what it means to do win-win problem solving, so I'm not having an advantage over you or you over me, and how to communicate in a way where you're actually talking about issues instead of trying to get one over. I know that a lot of parents have backed way off of the authoritarian method where I'm the boss, and I personally think that's a good thing. However, what's taken its place is a permissive way of raising children, well, whatever you think. And I think that never in the history of the world have we had a situation where children can determine so much about their own life without a parental guidance. And a judge is in a parental position over this family to say, this is what you have to do. You have to be an authority and help people understand the best way of doing things. So I think that parent education, anger management classes, and drug 12-step programs, alcoholics or drug anonymous programs are very valuable. And when you calm the thing down, give it some time, calm it down, work with the parents. Mediation is a wonderful way to go if it's mild or moderate. But if it's in the severe category, that's not going to work.
What do you suggest to do then in a severe case?
You have to go to a judge and you have to plead your case and make your case for a judge, and the judge has to be able to get it and rule according to the needs of the situation. But a lot of judges they're not up to speed on this at all.
No, that's true. And I think a lot of attorneys are pretty challenged about how to present cases like this in court. There are certain things lawyers are taught in law school that really do not work very well with this. And if you just sort of present one narrow part of the case at a time, it will go on forever and nothing will get resolved. So you really have to use some different strategies. So I think it's important that special methods be used to get the court to understand, so the court can come up with the proper intervention, which may be a custodial change, and it may be different kinds of interventions that contain that or do that at least temporarily. I think the goal and the ideal situation is for the child to be able to have an unassaulted relationship with both their parents, and then to be able to develop critical thinking tools, because just like Jane was saying, good parenting teaches children to be independent and to individuate and have good boundaries and things like that. And this stuff is the opposite. Children are penalized for thinking independently, and they're penalized for being separate. They're penalized for not being who the parent wants them to be. So it's about as opposite of healthy as can be.
Is there any other topic you would like to tell?
I'd like us to focus more on prevention.
Yes,
I remember
good idea.
that back when I started, I would go around to fathers groups.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah,
Jane?
I focused on what are you going to do about it.
Yeah.
And I used to go to fathers groups and sit in on them and see how they talk to each other and so on. What I found is that there's this tendency of, this is my situation, it's terrible, and then somebody would do a topper, would come on, oh, you think you got it so bad.
That's bad. Wait to hear this.
Yeah, wait till you hear this. And then even the leaders would encourage that and add more on top of it. And it was so discouraging. It was just a very, very negative, terrible thing. And what I said was, hey, wait a minute, what are you going to do about it? Because that isn't doing anything about it. It's making everything worse. And come on over to, in my classes, everybody gets to share how bad and awful it is, but on the other hand, they get another spin on it, that this can work out, what is possible here. Very different.
Yeah, I think support groups, which is really a lot of these things, can be very helpful or can be very unhelpful. I mean, I think there has to be that part of sort of getting all that out, but then you have to do something with it. I mean, there's an old hypnotic principle, that which you focus on gets larger. So if you focus only on how bad it is, guess what? It's just going to get more bad, and it's going to get worse and worse, but you have to get on the other side of it. So I think that's where some of the groups are very good for that and some are not. I think it just depends on the group and the understanding about that.
It's a lonely thing to go through this parent alienation.
Yeah.
It's horribly... But pretty soon, all your relatives, your friends, and everybody, they don't want to hear it anymore because nobody knows what to do.
Oh, and you show up at the kid's school, your child's school, and you feel given the cold shoulder because bad things have been said about you to the teachers and to the school administration, and then you go to the doctor because your child hasn't, and then the doctor doesn't treat you the same way because they've been told all kinds of untrue things and on and on and on. You. Yes, and so you begin to feel this, and you begin to almost get kind of paranoid about what does everybody think, and oftentimes they are thinking things because they've been told all this propaganda. So it's very lonely. That creates a lot of loneliness.
Yeah, they need a place to go where they can just vent.
It creates a lot of loneliness.
Yes, but I think the connecting up, as people do in different support groups and also organizations that are addressing this, that's one of the functions they do, is to not be alone with that and to recognize that I'm not the only one going through this. But I think, like Jane says, you have to go to the next level. You have to go, okay, fine, now let's go to what are we going to do about it in a positive way.
Is that right? Yes. I agree. Okay. What about the DSM-5?
It's a really thick book. and it's...
I tried to learn it once, but I couldn't.
As you know, it's being considered for inclusion. Yeah. And they reorganize the thing every time they write it, every decade, which is how often they write it. And so that is still sort of up for grabs. It won't be for 2 more years until it's finally... published.
And we know.
And it's hard to say. It's hard to say. There are lots of... It's a very slow, conservative process to... because it has to do with scientific information, so it oftentimes takes a very long time to get into those... something like the DSM. I mean, there are lots of things in the DSM that are not included in the DSM, rather, that are sort of everyday parlance, like battered spouse syndrome, that's not in there, and Munchausen's by proxy is not in there, and all kinds of things like that.
Battered women is not in there either, and it exists.
Yeah.
Battered men.
Yeah, exactly.
But right now, there's a big effort to lobby the committee for the DSM-5 to write your experience and what you think ought to happen. Both sides, pro and con, calling it parental alienation syndrome or not, or including parental alienation in the DSM-5. A lot of us have a vested interest that it is included because it will do a whole different shaping of this issue if it is included. And recommending that people, Dr. Bill Burnett, how do you pronounce it? Burnett?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At Vanderbilt University is a psychiatrist that has mobilized people to write to the committee members and say, this is what's happened to me.
Is Dr. Bill Burnett?
Yes.
Which university?
Vanderbilt.
I can send you Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Which one,
I can
sorry?
send you
Vanderbilt University.